Hey, what's up people? In front of me I have a Kizer mini Domin and a Kizer large Domin. Thought I'd show you the mini Domin first. This one I own for about a year, actually a little bit less than a year now. As you can see, this one is used quite a bit. At this point it's completely dull. The tip is ever so slightly bent and the very end of the tip has kind of broken off. Maybe you can see that, yeah. Tip is ever so slightly bent and the very end is broken off. Not a big deal, we can resharpen that. It's completely filthy on the inside. It's really nasty at this point. Like, this one has not been cleaned in since I have it. So it looks quite nasty. But I guess one good thing about the Kizer Domin is that it's quite reliable actually, despite all the grit and dirt that is in there. And there's even some nasty stuff on the part where the lock bar is actually contacting. So on the tang of the blade, you can see there's quite a bit of dirt there, but the lock bar just pushed the dirt to a side, so it still works. And it's actually still decently smooth, considering how nasty it is. I mean, I really should clean it, but yeah, I wanted to show it to you guys before I would go ahead and resharpen it and clean it. That this knife still runs actually quite good, despite how dirty it is on the inside. This one is clean. You can see that one is a little bit snappier. So yeah, the Domins, they do come quite snappy out of the box. I mean, you can slow roll them, obviously, but that's a little bit more fun if you just let them fly out there a little bit more quicker. So yeah, decently smooth. The large one is actually also drop shotty, which is not something that is very important. The small one is has a little bit of a too light blade to be drop shotty, but who cares? It's a work knife, right? It's not a knife that I would care about something like this. Here you can see the blade centering quite decent after 1 year of not adjusting it. That's almost perfect. You can see the tip is like bent, like I said, but apart from that, this is almost like perfect blade centering. So they are quite, they do run fine, even if the conditions are not that great, they work. And that's what I really liked about the Domin initially, that it is a simple design. It's like a simple work knife design, and it doesn't try to be anything else, which I do like that about this knife quite a bit. Here's an obvious comparison, the Ontario Red number 1. You can see the Red number 1 is a little bit bigger and also wider than the large Domin. Here's a Spyderco Chaparral, also a great little knife. These are actually, the Chaparral is a little bit smaller. I think the Para 3, where's the Para 3, is a little bit more comparable to the small Domin. Right? They have about the same blade size. This is a 7.4 centimeter blade on a small one, which is 2.9 inches. And the large one has like 8.6 centimeters, which is 3.4 inches. I do have small hands, I want to say this. And the small one fits me quite good, but I think there is even room for medium. And even, I mean, my dad, for example, has large sized hands, or even XL hands, I don't know. But his hands are quite big and he really likes this knife. I shared this knife with him. We both use it and we both use the living crap out of this, as it seems. And yeah, it works well for both of our hands. Let's bring another size comparison in here. Para 2, since we had the Para 3 already in there. And then for the more traditional people, so you can see actually the PM2 has a quite similar blade size, almost the same blade size than the large Domin. For the more traditional people, we have a Buck 110 and the Victorinox Climber. Yeah. Oh yeah, almost forgot the handle thickness. I don't know how thick it is exactly, but it's about the same as a PM2. Feels very similar. Yeah, it's the same as a PM2. Stock is like 3 millimeters, a little bit under 3 millimeters, so 2.8 I think on the stock thickness. Decently, so quite thin. It's not overly thick, not too flimsy either, but actually more on the thinner side, I would say. On the stock thickness and also on the grind, we have like, what do we have? Out of the box, the large one had, what had the large one? The large one had 0.2 and 0.36. So 0.2 millimeters in the front section, which is like 9 thousandths, and then 0.36, 14 thousandths behind the edge here in the back section. I always do measure 2 points because, you know, blades do taper from back to front, so they get thinner in this section. So I usually measure here and here, so I can get a little bit better of an understanding where we are edge geometry wise. And the small one out of the box had 0.4, which is like 14 to 15 thousandths. The small one was a little bit thicker, but that can be, I don't know if that was intentional. But once I resharpened it, I quickly got it down to a ridiculous thinness behind the edge. It was like 0.3 millimeters. So also in the right around 9 thousandths or so. Yeah, out of box, both of these knives came with very bad edge, I have to say though. And these have been bought at a different time. So like I said, this one is about a year old, a little bit less than that, and this one is about half a year old. So they are not from the same batch or anything, but both of these edges were very bad out of box. They were like dulled down and not really good. I even did a edge retention test on the large one out of box, and this is very important to notice with the out of box edge that it came with. It only performed in the same roams that like SK5 would do, like a cold steel SK5 or like a 440A or 440B steel would do. So very, very underperforming. I'm used to a lot better things from VG10, but this was with the out of box edge, which like I said, was not really great, was not really sharp. But once I resharpened it myself, also laid the edge bevel back there, it performed really, really good. So one of the best VG10s I have seen. But the resharpening was a little bit difficult, I have to say though. The first resharpening was a pain in the ass. It was not taking an edge well. It still doesn't have a good edge. I'm not sure. Maybe they did a little bit with the grind and everything, with the edge they put on there. They kind of messed it up a little bit. But the steel to itself is good. It works once you resharpen it yourself. But don't expect crazy edge retention out of box. Was also true for the small one. The small one is in N690, by the way. Not in VG10. I'm not sure why they made this choice to make the smaller ones out of N690 and the larger ones out of VG10, but I wouldn't think about that too much. It's really not a big difference. I personally couldn't tell a big difference in both of these blades performance-wise. Like I said, out of the box, completely terrible. Not completely, but very bad. But and with your own edge, it performs really good. So both of these knives seem to be good, heat treated, and they have obviously good geometries. Like I said, like the geometries we have on these blades are not bad at all for a production knife, at least. Yeah, so I was happy with that. And yeah, out of box could be a little bit better. I show you the box, by the way, that it comes in with. I'm not a big fan of these Kizer boxes. They feel cheap. Presentation is not great here, I would say. Has like a little plasticky insert, and there are some notes in there from the manufacturer, and it comes in this plastic like. But yeah, boxes are way too big for such a small knife, as you can see for both of these. Yeah, I don't like the box, but that's not what we buy the knife for, right? But the presentation and the out of box sharpness was not good. Also, I disassembled this one when I received it, and before me even using it and before me even gunking it up like it is now, I disassembled it, and these I will roll in the footage that I have. The washers on these knives are actually in not a good shape from the manufacturer. They are very carelessly put in there. They don't look really great. They are bent and have scratches in them. Not a big fan. Out of the, the entire unboxing experience is kind of bad. You get a cheap box, you get a dull blade, you get a bent washer and everything. And I mean, the Kizer Domin should be a little bit better presented, right? Like, why not? I do not understand why a knife that you just got comes dull to you. I do really not understand, especially if we think about the interior red. These are right in around 75 euros at this point, 76 euros. Prices always may change, of course. The interior red one is 30 bucks and it comes razor sharp. So I don't really understand this. And these knives don't have the best washers in them. That's for sure. You can break them easily, but once you get dirt and stuff like in there, but out of the box they're at least not bent and look that terrible. But yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed, but performance wise they're actually quite good. Like I said, we have good geometries, we seem to have a good heat treatment, and as you can see, this knife has been through a lot. The JG10 lost its color at a couple of parts there. You can see it's completely dirty at some points. There's so much gunk and so much grit in there, it's really nasty. The lockup is still good. The lockup is always solid from the Domins. They don't come with early lockup, which is good. I mean, this is a work knife after all. The blade centering stayed fine after using it for a year and not adjusting it, which was great to see that we do not have to adjust this knife so often. I put a 15-degree edge on this knife at some point, but 15 degrees is a little bit too low for the uses we put this knife through, so I actually go back to like 17 or 18 now when I will resharpen this. But yeah, I do quite enjoy this in using this quite a bit. This is the sort of a spin-off of the Kizer Begleiter, which is from the same designer. It's a little bit different. It has the thumb studs out of the way, so the thumb studs actually do almost make contact with the handle scales, and they're not in the cutting path, which is a nice detail. And the blade looks different, and the handle also looks different. To me, the Domin blade always looked better. I do enjoy the Domin quite a bit more than the Begleiter. And as you can see, the handle does not have like a finger groove, nothing back here to hold you on, which is a little bit of a concern on the larger one, in my opinion. I bring in the red one again. The red one has a handle that is set up for work, you know what I mean? This handle holds you on there good, with this groove in here, and then you have this belly, and then something back here to hold you on. This is something you do not get with the large Domin, which is something I do not enjoy that much, but it is what it is. On the small one, it's not such a big deal, because you kind of need the entire handle to put your hand on there. I have small hands, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Show you the knife with gloves in hand real quick. Still works. You can get a grip on there. These are gloves that do not quite fit me, but they're good for showing you how the knife looks like. Quite a bit of room on the large one here still, so yeah. But on the large one, I do not like this as much, the way the handle is designed. The blades are awesome. I mean, look at the blades. These are sexy. They have a slight aggressiveness to that point, although it's still a point that runs up to the spine, you know. And you have a good belly here, long cutting edge. It's a good designed blade, and especially if you compare it to the red, you can see that this has about the same cutting edge, maybe even a bit more, but it is quite a bit smaller at the same time, because they use the space more efficiently. You can see your finger is here and the cutting edge is there. On the interior red, your finger is here and the cutting edge is here. You can choke up, but that's not really a good position to be in on this knife. But yeah, quite well designed, I have to say, from the pivot to the blade. Very good design. Like I said, the handle leaves me a little bit cold what I really dislike about this handle is that the liners stick over the G10. I know this is kind of a design feature, but that's actually big bullshit, because you always have that presence of the liner sticking in your hands. It's kind of uncomfortable, I have to say. Again, on the small one, it doesn't bother me as much. For some reason, the handle fits on the smaller one, works perfectly, but on the large one kind of doesn't to me. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but yeah. The G10 is not very aggressive, it will not tear up your pants if you're worried about that. They actually came out with like a Micarta version now. Ooh, that one looks good, but yeah, I do like that they give you a bunch of color options on the Domin family. There are different colors for the large one than for the small one. The back spacers are also differently colored. I'm not sure if you can interchange them even. Maybe you can. I think you can. Yeah, they look the same. Backspace on the green one is in bright orange. You know, if you lose it in the woods, it kind of is a little bit easier to spot. But on the other hand, if you carry it for EDC, it's also kind of easier to spot, especially with that bright shiny clip. You know what I mean? It's not the most, you know, the clip is not too unnoticeable, but it works. It works well. It goes in and out of the pocket fine. Yeah, very small lanyard hole on both of these, so you kind of have to, you know, fiddle around with getting a lanyard through there. I don't need a lanyard on this knife, and I'm not against lanyards in general. I just don't need one on this. Yeah, like I said, the thumb studs lock up with the blade in the front, and we also have internal stop pins. I'm not sure if you can see that. Maybe I can show you this. Maybe I can show you in a different clip, but these knives have internal stop pins. Quite interesting to see. Not a lot of knives do that. Yeah. Overall, I'm very happy with how they perform in actually EDC or actually work use. I'm not really happy how they come out of box, but apart from that, the Kizer Domins are great. Oh, actually, I forgot to tell you the weight on these, because they have a good weight. So we have like 3.6 ounces on the large one, which is 103 grams. Yeah, 103 grams. And then we have 2.8 ounces on the small one, which is 82 grams. It's not the lightest knife for the size, if you think about it. It's just a 7.4 centimeter blade or 2.9 inches. But it's, you know, it's light. It's a summer carry for sure. Both of these are actually, yeah, and both of them are drilled out on the liners and inside. Yeah, but overall, I have to say, which one I do like better. I absolutely favor the small one. I'm not sure if that is because I have used this one more than the large one, but I do also think that the handle quite does not work as well on the large one than it does on the small one. And yeah, I do like them. They are reliable knives to me. Yeah, absolutely would recommend these, but they are definitely also not a replacement for an Ontario Red 1. If you look into one of the large models to be a replacement, a little bit more expensive, a little bit better in terms of blade steel and everything. The geometry is better, the blade steel is better, yes, but the ergos, the whole, you know, work knife feeling that you get with this, and you can actually use this as a very good work knife, is something you don't get with the large Domin. But yeah, you can put these through the ringer for sure. They are very, very reliable, good little tools. So that's everything I have to say about the Kizer Domin family. I hope you liked it, and be nice in the comments. See you guys. Peace.